Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another teacher talks session. And tonight we are having a very important and very interesting educator and teacher trainer from Brazil. And also we are going to have tonight teacher talks 28. Wow, it's been 28 week. And tonight our guest is Sergio Pantoja from Brazil, and he helps teachers to improve and become even more successful in their classrooms. And he is also Delta qualified teacher trainer. He is a very great instructor, and also he provides online courses for teachers. And so when he comes here, we are going to start our session with him. He's here. Let me invite him. Hello.
Hi, Volkan.
Hi, Sergio. Good
Fine.
afternoon to you, and good evening to us in Turkey. Yeah, I think it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon in Brazil, huh?
Exactly. It's 3 p.m. here. What time is it?
It's 9 p.m.
What time is it in Turkey?
Yeah, it's 9 p.m. in the evening now.
That's
Yeah,
great.
6 hours difference we
6 hour
have.
difference,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, we have. It's great to see you here in our live session, Sergio. And firstly, I would like to say thank you for accepting my invitation to join teacher talk sessions and share your ideas, experiences, and suggestions with me and with the other teachers, educators, and the people who are going to listen to us tonight.
Thank
And
you for the
after,
invitation.
you're welcome. And if you are ready, we can start.
Sure.
Okay. So, Sergio, can you tell us about yourself, please?
Oh, yes. So my name is Sergio. I'm a teacher and teacher trainer. I'm based in Brazil. I've been working in the LT field since 2002 in different capacities as teacher, director of studies, teacher trainer. And currently, I work primarily with teachers offering exam prep courses for proficiency exams, such as the C1 Advanced and the C2 Proficiency. And additionally, I also offer courses to help teachers teach even more effectively. Yes, and there's, as you've mentioned, I'm also involved with the Delta Module 1 course. I work for a center here in Brazil as a Delta Module 1 tutor, as well as a South P and South S tutor.
Great. Wonderful. Wonderful. And Sergio, thank you. And can you tell us about your experiences in teaching?
Wow. Well, that's been, yes, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. But okay, to give you the short version. So I've mentioned, right, I've been involved in ELT since 2002. So nearly 20 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Great.
And I think that, my experience ranges from teaching different levels. I mean, I've had the opportunity to teach all levels from A2, A1 to C2. Now, most of the classes that I teach are focused on C2 level learners, C1 and C2 level learners, basically. And also helping teachers prepare for, not only prepare, but also develop their teaching skills and prepare for proficiency exams.
I see. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Sergio. All right. So, actually, I would like to change the place of my questions. Like, can you, in right time, can you tell us about your current business and what kind of things you are doing there?
Okay, the current things I've been doing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so yes, I work for a center here in Brazil, a Cambridge center here in Brazil, and I can see there are some people here. Nice.
Yeah, of course.
Some familiar faces. Yes.
Great.
So I work with courses, qualifications such as the South P and South S, focused on primary and secondary teachers. Also teachers who are preparing for the Delta Module 1 exam. and all these courses are offered by the same center here in Brazil. And in addition to that, I can say that I run my own business by offering courses as a freelance teacher trainer, by offering different types of courses focused on teaching approaches, methodology, and also helping teachers that are making the transition from schools to private teaching. So I can say that I've been working with different teachers and helping them developing different skills for different purposes.
I see. Great. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you very much. And my next question is about your experience. I really wondering about it. What was your favorite moment or experience in your own education?
In my own education, well,
yes,
I would say it was my Delta course. And I'm not just referring to the Delta Module 1 exam, but to the whole process.
Yes.
Going from Delta Module 1 to Delta Module 2 and then Module 3. I think it was extremely intense. And I did the course in 1.5 years. It was a 3-semester course, actually. And I did all the modules, all the 3 modules in a row, starting with Delta Module 1, then 2 and 3. But I didn't really have a break in between modules, because some people, they take Module 1 and then they take a break before they move on to Module 2. And I would say that it was the favorite, one of the favorite moments in my ELT career, because I had the opportunity to develop a lot in a short period of time. And I think there are a couple of reasons for that. The first one being that Delta focuses on different aspects. So when you are preparing for Delta Module 1, you have the opportunity to delve into theory and also to brush up on some of your theoretical knowledge, which helped me a lot and helped me prepare for Module 2, which is more practical. Then you have the opportunity to teach and have your lessons observed and receive feedback, which also gets you to reflect on your teaching. Because when I got into the Delta course, I was a very experienced teacher, but I would say that it did help me look at things from different perspectives and further develop as a teacher and improve my teaching skills. And then finally, when I got into Module 3, which is completely different from Module 1 and Module 2, because you have to put together a course from scratch. And then it did help me understand all the rationale that there is behind the course in terms of all the decisions you have to make to have a course that is coherent and meaningful. I mean, whenever you offer a course, that's what people expect, right? So it did help me think about these different aspects. And
That's it. Great. Thank you, Sergio. Okay.
You're welcome.
So, and now next one is about, as you know that, the whole world, we are in a really big, a kind of a trouble because of, the COVID-19. And, when the lockdown started and the teachers were, they told to do online teaching, all of us were, really stressed out. And we are probably, more relaxed and organized while teaching online now, actually, but not that time. But I think there were 2 groups of teachers during this pandemic period, like the ones who simply lectured and moved on as they believed this was a temporary situation, and also the other type of teacher, who tried to use millions of digital tools to engage their students. Do you have any suggestions about the usage of digital tools?
Come again? If I have?
Do you have any suggestions about the usage of digital tools?
I think that regardless of the tools we use, they have to serve a pedagogical purpose, right? I think it's the problem is when you are using tools for the sake of using tools, or as maybe as a kind of a gimmick, maybe in order to attract students. But I do believe that technological tools can be very effective. But I think that they have to serve, again, and I know that I'm kind of repeating myself, but it's to stress that they have to serve a pedagogical purpose. So I think that whenever I'm planning a lesson, for example, of course that I try to integrate some different tools in order to engage students, because, teaching face-to-face and teaching online are not exactly the same. So we're talking about, teaching is teaching after all, but the mode is different, right?
Yeah,
So I think we need to consider that when offering and teaching online classes. So I believe that it's important to, whenever you're going to think about, okay, should I use that tool or not? I think the question is it going to help engage my students more
yes,
actively? Is it going to help them learn more effectively? I think that as long as we're able to answer those questions, yeah, that's absolutely fine to use as many tools as you deem necessary.
I see. I see. Great. Thank you. And I saw a question, Sergio, over there. Let me just check it. From Mrs. Tamar Dolice. She says,
Oh yeah,
what tools are most popular in Brazil?
I would say that first, well, by and large, teachers in Brazil love using tools like Kahoot,
Yeah.
um, Quizlet. Quizlet is not as, as popular as Kahoot, but yeah, some people have been using it more frequently.
Uh-huh.
Um, there are also other tools that are not as popular. Let me see if I can think of any. Mentimeter is also another tool that teachers love using. But I would
Yeah.
say that if I were to rank the top three as far as I'm concerned, I would say that it's probably Kahoot, the first one, and then other tools such as Mentimeter and Quizlet.
Quizlet. It's
Yeah.
great. It's great. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Sergio. And
Oh,
thank
I'm
you
so
also, Mrs.
sorry, Boga. Yes, there's one that like completely slipped my mind, but I've been using quite often. How could I possibly have forgotten that? Which is Jamboard.
Jambo. I heard about it. I heard
Exactly.
about it. It's really yeah.
Yes, people have been using it quite a lot, and yeah, how could I have possibly forgotten it? There's a question here. It's a
It's
Mentimeter.
let me write. Let
Yeah,
me write.
thank
Just a
you.
moment.
Median says that Jamboard is the best. That's right, Median. I've been using it a lot.
Yeah, Mentimeter.
Thank you.
Is it? Yeah, that's one. That's very useful tool to use. Yeah, exactly. Great one. Thank you, Sergio, and thank you, Mrs. Dolise, for the question. And uh, ment, which one? Can you spell it? So you
So
mean
you're referring
Jamboard?
to Jamboard,
Okay.
Jamboard.
Jambord. Yeah, it's like this.
Yeah, Jamboard.
Yeah, Jamboard. Yeah. Okay. Great one. Yeah, Jamboard. I love it. Tastes really good. Hi. Okay. So, and my other, can I move? Other question?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, as you know that, especially this period, all the teachers, have a huge workload, more than ever maybe, because it takes a lot of time to dealing with the online stuff. So our duties take more time in distance education than it takes, in face-to-face classes. And moreover, parents are more involved in this process now. What would you suggest to us maintain our well-being? And my second question is, could you give any tips in terms of balancing our workload?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I think it's of paramount importance to strike a balance between your mental health and your workload, right?
Yeah.
Because what's the point in working like crazy? If it's affecting you mentally. But this is the kind of conversation that I've had with some teachers, and there's this teacher who's taking one of my courses, and she made a very good point. She said that when she was teaching only face to face, she wouldn't get questions from her students, for example, on Saturdays and Sundays. And now since she's teaching online, she's been getting more questions because students are asking and interacting. They have the opportunity, right? They have access to us maybe more than they used to in the past, especially those of us that were working predominantly face to face before the pandemic. So I think it is something to consider. When you say that we've been working more and our workload is somehow overwhelming, I completely agree. But I think that it's up to us, like to draw the line Because,
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, probably you're going to find yourself working 24/7. Because nowadays, everything you need is a computer and an internet connection. And we have that at home, right?
Yes.
To be honest, I'm kind of a workaholic. So, and
Me too. Don't worry. You are not alone.
yeah, and it can be a problem. I mean, of course, that once again, right? You have to make sure that you're able to strike a balance between your personal life and your professional life.
Yes.
But it's important to keep that in mind, because you have, once again, you have access to everything I need in order to teach, for example, is online. So I can have access to those tools and materials all the time. And then I find myself spending more time in front of the computer, planning things, changing things. But you need, I think that at this point, we need to develop awareness of to what extent working so much can affect us. And then, I mean, once you become more aware of it, you start, in a way, monitoring yourself, because, you know, sometimes it's difficult. Then you can know, I mean, for how many hours a day you can work, or
Yes.
the number of tasks that you're able to finish, and make sure that it doesn't affect your health, and I mean, physically and mentally.
I see. I see. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you very
You're
much. It's
welcome.
very, very useful.
Fernanda says here, I guess teachers are workaholic. Yes,
Yeah,
probably most of
workaholic.
us.
Probably
Yes,
most of us.
most of us.
Exactly. This is reality. Okay. And so my next question is, it's this that most of the schools, seems addicted to the course books, and however, during the lockdown, the most of the students couldn't reach their course books as they had left them at school, or maybe couldn't afford it, or therefore, teachers had to find or create new materials to teach them. And I think it was a great opportunity for teachers to define the place where course books stood in our life. Do you think course books are essential components of our lessons? And my second question is, what is their place in education?
I think it varies a lot from teacher to teacher, Vulcan. There are teachers that, especially, when they first start teaching, they don't have much experience, so it can be difficult for them to adapt, or to even go beyond the course book, because they don't have much experience. But I think that as we develop, then some of us that still use the course book, you use it as a tool. I mean, you can pick and choose different things. But it doesn't mean that you're going to follow it blindly. The problem is when you see the course book as something to be followed, to the letter. But again, the problem is that I think that there are many things in the course book that can be chosen and can be used and can be adapted. But the problem sometimes is that the lessons are organized in such a way that everything revolves around the text. So to give you an example, when you say that a course book can be easily adapted, sometimes this is not entirely true, because depending on let's say, for example, that there is a text in the course book, and you don't want to use that text for some reason, and you decide to remove that text. When you do that, most of the time the lesson falls apart, because all the exercise that followed and all that language comes from the text. So if you decided not to use the text, then you have a problem, because probably you're going to have to redesign the whole thing from scratch.
I see.
So this is something to consider. But in my experience, the way I see it, teachers tend to be more dependent on the course book when they are less experienced. But then hopefully, as they develop, they see the course book as a tool, and they become much less dependent on it.
I see. Thank you very much. It's a great one. Thank you. And Sergio. And what I want next, that we got many chances, especially these days, attend webinars during the pandemic. But except the webinars, what can we do for our professional growth these days? What do you suggest to us?
Oh, I think there are so many things we can do. You have mentioned webinars. So yes, that webinars definitely. Reading. I think reading is one of the most. And reading and reflecting on what you are reading, on what you have read, can help you develop a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can also take courses, and there are courses. I mean, even for teachers who can't afford, for one reason or another, there are courses that are really affordable, but they're also free courses. Future Learn, for
Yes.
example, is a platform, right, that offers very good courses, and all of them, as far as I'm concerned, are for free,
Yeah.
or at
Mm-hmm.
least most of them. Or other platforms such as Coursera, for example, they also offer good courses that
Yeah. And also
are
Canvas.
free.
There is also Canvas. As you
Mm-hmm.
remember, Canvas. Yeah, that's also offering free courses. You are right.
Exactly. Uh, so yes, there are courses that are really affordable. There are books that you can read, and the experience of reading a book and reflecting what you're. I think it's not the experience of reading, but the experience of reading, reflecting, and trying to implement the things that you find
Mm-hmm.
useful into your own lessons, right, and see how it plays
Yeah.
out. Thanks, Fernando, for this.
I say free webinars, books, and Sergio's courses, of course. Your courses too. They can
Thanks,
join.
sir.
Yeah, they can join your courses too. By the way, how can they join your courses? Is it possible to join wherever, from every part of the world to your courses, or it's only, special for in Brazil?
Sure. No, I do have teachers from different parts of the world in my courses, especially in the Suture Proficiency Prep courses. The only problem is that I don't have any asynchronous courses. All my courses are synchronous, so
Mm-hmm.
they start at specific dates.
I see.
Most of them start at the beginning of the semester. So currently I don't have any asynchronous courses.
I see. I see. Great.
There's a question
Thank
here
you.
from
And the
Vanessa.
question,
She asks, "Is there any course for beginning teachers who have never taught before?" Okay. Um, well, I think she's asking about pre-service teacher training courses, right?
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
the CELTA is a possibility, right? There's also CERT
Yeah.
TESOL. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Celta, as you said, Celta. She can take Celta. It can be useful for her. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, now I can. Yeah,
Ah,
you
now,
broke up a little.
as you mentioned for the question, like Celta is a way that they can take a course to teach if they have never, in experience about teaching. They can
Definitely,
easily course
it's
Celta
a
course.
possibility. Yes, the CELTA course, or or the CERT TESOL is also another possibility.
Exactly, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, and Sergio, and I really wonder your answer to these questions, like because I've been watching your the videos and your Instagram page, and you are sharing a great things and suggesting lots of great ideas over there. And
Thank
as
you.
a teacher trainer, what are the characteristics of effective language teacher for you?
Mm. This is the kind of question that I think I'm kind of afraid of answering, because sometimes you can oversimplify it, right? And and the answer is not going to be as comprehensive as it should be. But I think that effective teachers are the ones that are always learning and improving, always reflecting on their practice in order to become better and better. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's important that you are always willing to learn and open to learn new things, and even to unlearn things that you have learned. But I mean, you have realized that they're not as effective as you thought
Uh-huh.
they were, right? Uh,
Yeah.
I think that, of course, there are soft skills that you're expected to have empathy and to with your students to understand their development process, right? Um,
Yes.
but yes, I think that expertise is very important to develop expertise in the field, because I mean, we're as teachers, we are professionals, so we need to study and improve as much as we can. Um, to and most importantly is what happens in the classroom, right? The interaction between
Uh-huh.
teacher and student. So there is this motto that you have probably heard it: teach the students, not the book. Uh, I mean,
Of course.
absolutely. And what I think that if we extrapolate what we can get from that is that a good teacher is a person that's able to meet their students' needs, to respond to
I
their
see.
students' needs as they arise. So yeah, I would say that in a nutshell, these are some of the characteristics that make a good teacher, but it definitely goes beyond that for sure.
I see. I see. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sergio. It's very clear answer for us. Thank you. And my other question is, what do you suggest, to the teachers to establish an effective rapport with the students? It's online actually now, right now, with the students online. No, we don't have a face to face right now, as the situation. So students in online. What's your idea?
I don't think it's very different from what we do, Vulcan, when we teach face-to-face lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I always try to do is to put myself in my students' shoes. It's not just, I think it's important. I mean, I'm talking about empathy, of course, but I'm also talking about understanding where they are in their development process and what their needs are. And I think it's, in a way, it's somehow easier for us as non-native speakers of English, right? Because we had to learn the language, and we had to go through the process to become fluent, and so on and so forth. So when I'm planning my lessons, for example, something that I try and do is to anticipate the problems that my students may have, and even when I'm thinking about the sequencing, I think it's important to consider the best way we can to structure our lessons in order to help students learn as effectively as possible.
I see.
Yeah. So I think it's to pay attention to the students. That the lesson that we say that the lesson plan is extremely important, definitely. But more important than that is to pay attention to the students and react, to be more responsive than preemptive. Does it make sense?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. I see. I got it. Thank you. It's great.
You're welcome.
Great. Okay, thank you, Sergio. And so my other question is, Sergio, do you think that the current way of educating the children fully prepares them for the needs of 21st century?
You mean generally speaking?
Yeah, the general one. Yeah, generally. Or maybe you can,
I believe it's very hard to answer that question because it's kind of hard to predict what students are going to need in the future.
Actually.
In hindsight, when I look at my development, I had to develop certain skills. Like, let's say 20 years ago when I started teaching, I had to develop certain skills that I could have never imagined that I would have to develop, or that I was going to have to develop. And then, as you develop in your career, as different situations and different circumstances arise, and you feel compelled, right, to develop skills that you don't have. But going back to your question, because it's about the students, not myself as a teacher, I was just drawing a parallel here. I think it's difficult to predict what students are going to need in the foreseeable future, because everything is changing so quickly. There are some jobs nowadays that there weren't 10 years ago, right?
I see. Yes.
But there are definitely certain things that I think that everybody needs. For example, how to communicate well. I think that regardless of your job, it can be extremely important to develop your communication skills, to speak well, to write well. I think these are things that most of us need, right? So that we can function in our daily lives.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, as you said, it's hard to predict. Yeah, you're right. And what do you think about my other one is, what do you think of the most exciting or let's say an effective learning environment should be?
I think that as teachers, you should create an environment or try to provide students with an environment where they are not afraid of making mistakes. They're not afraid of experimenting with the language.
Yes.
I think it's very important because if they are in and I'm not just talking about here the idea, the Krashen's hypothesis about the affective filter, right?
I see.
And then to help students lower the affective filter so that they can feel free to try and experiment with the language. But in addition to that, I think it's important to help students understand that mistakes, for example, we keep saying that it sounds cliche, but mistakes are part of the process. If they are inevitable, students are going to make mistakes. And especially here in Brazil, I don't know about in Turkey, but here in Brazil, sometimes people see mistakes as something negative, as something that they shouldn't be doing. So you may have to spend some time.
Same.
Is it the same?
Yeah, it's same. They're afraid to make a mistake.
Sure. So it's important to help students understand that they're going to make mistakes anyways, and they're part of the process. And most importantly is to understand that when we make mistakes, this is some kind of evidence that we can get, right? That you are developing, or the things that we need to focus on and work on. And you know that you are, both of us, right? We are competent users of the language, and we still make mistakes. I mean, so
of course.
That's okay, and that's okay. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So students should be, as teachers, I think we should try and create this kind of environment where students will have freedom to try new things, to experiment with the language, as I said before, and to be not to be afraid of making mistakes. Because there's nothing wrong with that.
Of course, as you mentioned, that making mistakes shows that you are learning something like this. The kind of that shows that you are trying to learn, doing things.
Yes, absolutely. And learning a foreign language, we know, right? It's not a linear process. There are lots of ups and downs. So you've probably noticed that sometimes we teach something and students start using it right after. I mean, during the lesson they are using it, but then in the next lesson they are still getting it wrong, which is okay which means that they need more practice, they need more exposure. That's absolutely fine.
Exactly, Sergio. Okay, thank you. And so my other question is, Sergio, what do you think about the future of language education?
What the future is going to be like?
I mean, like the future. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I know language education. How it's going to be. What do you think about it?
That's a tough one. Maybe it's hard to make a prediction, but okay, I'm gonna try.
We're just talking.
Sure. I think that here in Brazil there is this phenomenon nowadays that there are lots of bilingual schools springing up all over the place. Some of them are not truly bilingual. They claim to be bilingual, but they're not. It happens. Yeah, it's something that has been happening here in the country. But anyways, I think it's not going to stop. It's going to keep growing. Maybe something else that which is, I would say it's relatively new. Again, in my context, is the number of kids, the number of teenagers that have been achieving very high levels of proficiency.
I see.
Like, if you go back 15 or 20 years ago, most people didn't even know what like Cambridge exams and C1 and C2 levels were. So this is something new. I had the opportunity, for example, 2 years ago to go to a school here, nearby, and to test some students. It was a speaking exam. And there were like 16 and 17-year-old students taking the C2 proficiency exam. Yes. So, I mean, as far as Brazil is concerned, this is something new. You didn't see that, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but now it's happening more and more frequently. So
Great.
I believe that it's going to have an impact on teachers because as you have more teenagers, reaching high levels of proficiency, in a way, it's going to push us to keep studying more and more. So then we can teach these students, right?
Yes.
It's I don't know in Turkey, but here in Brazil there are many teachers who have been studying in order to take proficiency exams C1 level, C2 level, because some schools really require that. It's for you to be hired, you have to have this level.
I see. Yeah, in actually in some schools also in here they just maybe the university to go there, you have to complete your master degree, to start to work at the university. They put that rule new. As a teacher, as a language teacher, they said you have to, get your master degree and then you can work in that university. I mean, they say in the other parts, they also looking for what kind of courses you have taken. Have you got CELTA or Delta? Have you done your master degree? They're looking for your, the qualifications. Are they high enough to work here, or you need to improve yourself more? Kind of things or still we have here, just like in Brazil, they are looking for it. Similar things.
Yeah.
I see. Great. And there was a question. We missed, I think. Yeah. Azra Tajizi is asking, like, traditional classes are so motivational or new version classes? What do you think she's asking?
I think she's asking about the different face-to-face and online lessons.
Kind of, I think. It's not clear, actually, but the means, like, when she means traditional classes, it's like the normal and the new. Yeah. And the new version of classes she's asking is like this. I mean, the online classes, I think she mentioned.
I think it depends on the type of learner you are, right? Yes, some people really prefer, probably, I dare say that maybe most people prefer face-to-face lessons, but maybe it's changing now, as most people have, in a way, have been forced, right, to teach online. There wasn't much of a choice. So I know some students, for example, that had you asked them before the pandemic if they were willing to have English classes, they would have said no, because they were kind of reluctant to have online lessons. But now that they because everything's being done online and they had the opportunity to try it, some of them kind of fell in love with it. So which is kind of unexpected, because people are resistant to change and reluctant, but then once they have the experience, they may change their minds. So it depends on the type of learner you are, I think.
Actually, maybe it's kind of like, as you said, it depends on the students. Like maybe some of students, I think feel more comfortable in online teaching than they have face-to-face education in class. And that's why maybe they
who do, yeah.
Yeah. They don't want to be in face-to-face. They're afraid to talk, but when they're in the online classes, they have a chance to talk and say whatever they want easily. Maybe they think that.
I know a student, for example, I know there's a student who said that he feels more comfortable speaking in English when he's having classes online because he's at home.
Yeah.
It's interesting, right? Because what he's saying, that when he used to have classes face-to-face in groups, he didn't feel that comfortable, but now he's at home, he feels more comfortable. So it's hard to predict what's going to happen once this is over, right? When we go back to normal, whatever that means.
I hope so, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe it's a safe place, the safe house. I mean, like that's why maybe they're more comfortable, as you mentioned. Okay. Thank you. And my other question is this: what role do you think government should play in education? As a general youth,
Sure.
I'm not asking Brazil. I mean, I'm asking as a general idea of the government's the role in education.
I think that first and foremost, government should create conditions so teachers can teach and students can learn as effectively as possible. But what happens sometimes is that they don't create the necessary conditions, and even worse, they interfere.
I see.
And I think that that's a problem when you live in a country, for example, where the government's not supportive, it's not helping, and especially at public school levels, they're not helping teachers. Teachers don't have good materials. The situation is kind of precarious, and then teachers have to make do. I mean, with whatever they have. So I think that the role, or one of the roles that the government should play, is to create conditions so that teachers can teach and students can learn, which in my experience hardly ever happens.
I see. Great. Thank you, Sergio. And I'm really wondering what is this one? I would like to ask this one. Sergio, what is your motto?
Oh, if I have a motto?
Yeah, what is it?
Oh, that's a tough one. Okay, I think that if I were to pick one, mine would be, and I'm not sure who said it. Probably it was Plato. Not sure. I might be misquoting, but it's know thyself. Know yourself.
Know yourself.
Exactly. Yes, because when some people, I got a lot of questions about the delta all the time, and sometimes people ask me questions that I cannot answer because they have to know themselves. Of course, I can help. I can help them understand whether the course is for them, but there are some choices we have to make, and it has to be based on like a self-assessment, right? Is this course for me? Do I have enough discipline to study 8 hours a week, 12 hours a week, do all the tests, and so on and so forth? So I think that it really helps you professionally. Well, at so many levels, right? But if you really know yourself, the more you know yourself, the better, and the easier it's going to be for you to make decisions that are going to be impactful on your career.
I see. Great motto, a nice motto and useful one. Really, I like it. Know yourself. Great one. And someone says something, Sergio. It says, Tabi Lucas says, salary is horrible too. So many teachers need to work in many schools. Yeah, it's like, it depends on kind of like this, I think.
Yeah, here in Brazil, for instance, Volkan, there's this huge gap. I mean, if you compare, for example, how much a public school teacher makes, I mean, generally speaking, of course, it changes a little from state to state. But if you were to compare, for example, how much a public school teacher makes and how much a teacher from one of the most prestigious bilingual schools in the country makes, the difference is huge. I would say that by and large, a teacher who teaches at one of those most prestigious bilingual schools here in Brazil makes, let's say, 7 times more.
Wow.
Than a public school teacher. Yes, so that's the kind of gap I'm talking about.
Wow, it's a lot.
Yes, it is a lot. So it varies a lot from school to school, from state to state. But I think that what we can do as teachers, right? Because I think this is the kind of decision that, I mean, it is sad. It's extremely sad. I think teachers should be well paid. We work a lot. Definitely. But I think that what we can do, as far as we are concerned, is to keep on developing and studying and becoming more and more qualified. Because it's not a rule, but most of us, teachers who are well qualified tend to make more money.
Yes, you are right. Of course.
I see. I agree. I
Fernando
agree,
says it's
Sergio.
depressing. Yes, it's depressing what happens, Fernando. Definitely.
Yeah, I see. I see. It depends. It's some in not only in maybe Brazil, in most of other countries, maybe situation is same. You know, you're a teacher, and as you said that we have to, you know, well paid because you are as a teachers we are doing great things, and I think we deserve it. That's what I'm thinking also, just like you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Sergio. And my other question is, what does an uh, educated person look like today for you?
An educated person.
Yes, what an educated person look like today for you?
I think that an educated person is a person who's able to think critically.
Uh-huh.
You're able to make good decisions. You're able to no, that's a tough one. But I tend to associate it with the idea of I mean at least one of them, the idea of critical thinking, which is so
Mm-hmm.
hard to develop. But
Exactly. Uh-huh.
what I often say is that there are some areas we are more educated, in other areas where we're uneducated. So I don't think this is a like a black and white kind of situation,
Mm-hmm.
but we should try to carry on educating ourselves, and this is going to be throughout life,
Yeah.
so then we can become critical thinkers, and we can um, understand, for example, the implications of our choices, understand, for example, how the world works, the impact
Uh-huh.
of our decisions, right? When you choose, for example, bad presidents, for instance, the impact of of our decision, and we're able to assess its implications.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, in a nutshell, that's what I think of an educated person. So.
I see. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sergio. The wonderful answer. Yeah, it's great. And also, Mrs. Dolice says like a person equipped with critical thinking skills and plus a good decision maker. Yeah, absolutely agree with Sergio. Yeah, she says she's agreeing with you. Yeah, like that. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Tabi, Lucas too. And my other question, and the last one, and the last one, the last question, because we are almost coming the end of our sessions. Time passed so quickly,
Already.
Sergio, with you. Yeah. And so, how do we? This is an extra question I would like to ask you. How do we help our students to discover their potential or passions, let's say?
First of all, by listening to them,
Mm-hmm.
because in order to help them, we need to know what they need. Well, we need to know what their needs are, right, and how we can help them improve. So by listening to them, by paying attention to them, um, I think that as teachers, of course, and we are teachers, we are educators, we play a huge role in people's development. But there's only so much we can do, right? I mean, we
Exactly.
we spend, let's say, 2 hours with the student per week, or those of us who work at public school. Yeah, here in Brazil, if you're a public school student, you're going to teach for a particular group for 2 hours. My point is, we don't get to spend many hours with students, so there's only so much we can do. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that the impact we're going to have is not going to be significant. So I think that it's important that we understand what students need, what their needs are,
Mm-hmm.
what they want, and guide them so that we can help them achieve their true
Mm-hmm.
potential, their but yes, that's a tough one, because people have, that people have different goals and different
Yes.
needs. So nowadays, I'm not as let me make a confession here. When I started teaching, I was extremely ambitious. So yes, but not as you become more mature and more experienced, you understand that there's only so much you can do in the classroom. So what we need to do, Volk, in my opinion, is to help students understand how to learn. so that they continue learning outside the classroom. They continue developing outside the classroom, because the time they're going to spend with us is somehow is rather limited, right? Let's say it's 1 year or 2 years. It doesn't matter. But what really matters is if we teach them how to learn, how to develop, how to study, this is something that they're going to carry on
I see.
throughout the rest of their lives.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you very much. It's a great idea. Okay, and so Sergio, and as your last words, like before the time flies, as says Lucy Dioma says, what a pity time flies. Yes, unfortunately, time flies. We have a limited, the time, and we can't go beyond of it.
Yes.
And as your last the word, Sergio, what would you like to say to all our listeners, teachers, and tonight? And yes.
Well, hanging there. Probably this is one of the things that I would say, because I know how difficult the whole situation has been. I know how much teachers have been struggling with the whole pandemic situation. Most teachers that were not comfortable with the whole teaching online thing, right? They had to start teaching sometimes without any support, and they had to start developing and learning so that they could help their students. But I believe that the situation is going to get better. I mean, it is getting better, hopefully. And as teachers and educators, I'm sure that all of us, and not most, all of us are doing the best we can to help students continue learning, right? And hopefully it's going to be over soon, and life will be back to normal. I mean, whenever I use this word nowadays, I do not even know what normal is going to look like once it's over. But anyways, I do hope that all teachers hang in there and be strong.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Sergio. And I would like to say one more time, thank you very much to join, our session, teacher talk session, and you made it great night for us, and by your precious ideas, suggestions, and your time, of course. You spend your time with us here, and thank you very much for all of them. Yeah, thank you very much for all of them, and I hope we will see each other in another platform and together, and we will do another things together. I had really love it to spending time. I really didn't understand how time passed. It was wonderful, and I got lots from you, and I'm sure that all the listeners and who listen to us here tonight, they got many things from you and shared their ideas, and we had a really nice conversation and question and answering situations, and you helped a lot tonight, and thank you very much one more time, and thank you very much all who support us and who's asking questions, and thank you very much. And
thanks everyone. Thanks, Volkan.
You're welcome. Until the next time, next Monday, take care of yourself, everybody, and take care of yourself, Sergio, and it was great to
bye everyone.
See you, and good evening, good afternoon to you in Brazil, and good evening, good morning, and good night, and peace, everybody. Take care of yourself. Bye bye. See you next time.